So in the very, very first thing kind of coming out of this game, you have a brief clip of Bonnie running down the hall. And it's very strange because Bonnie is not the running character. Okay, it's coming up. Here it is. There it is. There he is. Look at that sprinty boy. Look at those gams. Bonnie's not skipping leg day. And welcome to GT Not Live, where we're not live, but we will be soon to stream Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, which means that if I have any hope of getting through this FNAF Iceberg, I gotta keep going. I just gotta keep plowing through. Spoiler alert, we're not gonna finish that today, and that'll just continue mixed in with our Security Breach coverage, because that's just the way it is. This is a lot to cover. So, as I've alluded to in the past, and we've done 2 of these at this point, I am in full Five Nights at Freddy's research mode. A new Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Guidebook came out that is kind of like the final and definitive edition of... It's basically like a player's guide or, like a cheats book teaching you about the gameplay and lore and stories of all these games, all combined into this one 200, it's a long book, it's 220, 230 pages. That just released, and it's the 3rd edition of it. I believe it's supposed to be the final edition. It's been an interesting series because I've read the first 2, and there are mistakes, and there are little, the first one I think had copyrighted images that weren't, that were fan art and not official images. So it's been a series of books that have undergone a lot of challenges or changes, and I think this 3rd one, because it's the definitive edition, is supposed to be the, all of that's been ironed out. Scott knows that there were mistakes that had happened, and so now this is the one to go to. And it's interesting. I'm in the process of reading it right now. There's, like I said, it's a long book. There's a lot of details in there that I'm focusing on, but true to form, there's a lot of, with anything that's FNAF related, there's a lot of small things in there that are catching my attention as it relates to timeline and lore reveals that I'm trying to wrap my head around and think how it fits into kind of what we've assumed how this series has worked so far. But sometimes there are, when you're reading stuff, there's sometimes just details that are included that I make a mental note of and that stick out. For instance, one that just came to mind that I read yesterday as I was reading about the FNAF 3 section. And this book specifically calls out the fact that the FNAF 3 animatronics, the phantom animatronics, right, the ones that appear as hallucinations and that jump scare you throughout the game, are there's a very odd line in there about and they're all burned. They all appear to be burned for some reason. And it's well, why would the FNAF 3 animatronics be burned? Because as far as we know, first off, it's a weird thing to call out because no one's ever really thought about it or talked about it. I think all of us, FNAF theorists, if you do bother to think about this stuff, have assumed that details like that are oh, they're ghost animatronics. They're old. They're they're decrepit. They are falling apart. Right. This is a ghostly effect that has been thrown on them because they're they're decayed at this point. And so for the book to explicitly call out, they're all burned, feels intentional on Scott's part, on the part of him either as supervisor or full-on writer of this book. Again, pointing us in a direction of hey, here's a thing that no one talked about, or hey, here's a thing that no one's noticed. But the reason that matters is because FNAF 3 is the first... There's 2 times that things burn in this series, right? It's FNAF 3 and FNAF 6. FNAF 3 is the Fazbear Frights burns down in an attempt to basically... They say it's a failure, but basically we assume it's an attempt to kind of get rid of Springtrap. But wait, at the end of the game, it's revealed that he's still alive. And then in FNAF 6, as we all know, that's the end of the series. And end of the series. Yeah, you and me, Scott, we know how to end a series real well. That's supposed to be the end of the series where, Henry traps all the animatronics into one place and burns them to release their spirits once and for all, right? So for the phantom animatronics to be burned prior to this, prior to their appearance in FNAF 3, makes no sense from a timeline perspective as we currently understand it. But it seems to be a clue that they're leading, that this book is leading us to. And that's why it's so important, one, to consume all, that's why it's important to consume all FNAF related things. But two, I'm constantly like having to re-question and reassess everything that I know about the series, which is why this Iceberg thing that we've been doing over the last couple uploads has been really fun and educational for me, because it's taught me a lot about this series, especially as we go into Security Breach. I hear you, and this is another thing, like, this is the reason I'm going back through everything, not only is Security Breach going out, but I hear you and I feel it too. The FNAF lore, really complicated at this point. There's so many new books and things that people haven't been able to stay on top of. There's been a lot of reveals and revelations, honestly, that have come out of Fazbear Frights and things like that, that we've done in individual installments, but how does it fit into the overall timeline? I hear and I see the requests from the fan community for a general video on this, but also people specifically reaching out to me to ask this about, like, hey, can you do a recap of the FNAF series and what we need to know about it and what the timeline is? And on one hand, I'm like, yes, I want to do that. I recognize the need to do that here in 2021 as a new game comes out and there's all this stuff mixed in. But on the other hand, I am terrified to do that because the timeline is the hardest thing, because it's the most unclear part of this whole thing. Like, I can tell you for fair amounts of certainty what the answers to pretty much most of the questions that people can ask from a lore standpoint here. I still don't know what Juniors is from FNAF 6. I don't know that. But I can tell, I feel real confident about what's in the box. I feel confident about Mangle. I feel confident about X, Y, and Z. But what restaurants happened when and who died at what points, it's hard because there's a lot of contrasting evidence to this. And that's why when FNAF 3 shows up in this ultimate guide to the games and they're like, did you notice that they're burned? I'm like, no, I didn't, but why does that matter? And it doesn't make sense based on anything that we know. So it's my hope and my goal that I wanted to do it before Security Breach came out, because I'm like, hey, here's everything you need to know going into Security Breach. But it feels like instead it's one that'll have to happen afterward, because it's just taking a lot longer than I had hoped and expected to try and kind of, here's the overall summary of what you need to know about the games. Here's a couple of fun details mixed in, and then let's talk about Security Breach. So that's happening. Security Breach comes out tomorrow as I'm filming this. We're going to be streaming it. That's exciting. I'm excited for it to come out. But before we get to that, we got to get to the deep parts of this iceberg that I don't know. There's so much of it, Matt. There's so much of it. You picked one that has so many words.
And you're welcome.
Yeah. I bet the Iceberg series is probably longer than our FNAF Security Breach series.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's the goal. Also, I just want to call this out because you guys know that I follow the subreddit, the Game Theorist subreddit. If I can pull it up quickly here, but I cannot pull it up quickly here because the cookies were refreshed on here. No, it's so slow. But I think you'll appreciate this, Matt. Mm-hmm. Where it's the Game Theory. Hold on.
It's right there on your right. Go up.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. Thank you. There it is. Perfect. I thought you would appreciate this. Where is it? Oh, great. Now it's buried under everything. It's buried under everything. There's so many good. We gotta do a meme review, Matt, because there's a lot of good memes that have come out. The Matt Pat's the Matt. It's fantastic.
That's pretty good.
It's a winner. It's a banger, as they say. Oh my gosh, it got so buried. Oh, I should have planned this out in advance. Someone seeing your predilection for choosing things with a lot of words.
Yeah.
Made their new FNAF Iceberg.
With more words?
Oh god, it's not in here. Here, I'm gonna just search it. Here. No. Did they remove it? Where? You would think it would show up. Oh my gosh, why can't I find this one thing? I want one thing in my life. So I made a diagram. Nope, that's not it. Oh, this is just falling apart.
I believe you.
Matt, it's there. It exists.
And I believe you.
It exists. FNAF Iceberg. How about I try this? Did it go away? It was so good. It was on the game theaters. It was. I don't know. All right, fine. Here, let me try one more time. FNAF Iceberg Reddit MatPat. Words. True ultimate. Is this it? This isn't it. Is this it? I don't think this was it. This might have been it. Oh yeah, because it was all divided up. Here you go, Matt. Here's the true FNAF Iceberg.
Oh my god.
I saw this. Yeah, come on, Matt.
They're all words?
It's so many words, Matt. This is like a novel. This isn't a FNAF Iceberg. This is just a new novel installment in the series.
Wait, how can scroll?
Tier 1, The Surface. Game Theory MatPat. That's us. We did. We're scrapping the Iceberg series as it was, and we're redoing it with this one. Because apparently this is it.
Go all the way to the bottom.
Go all the way
I'm
to the bottom. You're curious about it? Okay. Desolate Hope. That's a FNAF game. Okay. Look at this. Look at this! Dream Theory was correct. That's the deepest deep. That's
FNAF is real.
FNAF is, a lot of these are actually, that's funny. Both of these are kind of stuff that the lore is wrong. I feel like game theory is right. See, this is an iceberg that knows what it's talking about right here. This is an iceberg that has got its head on straight. And I like that FNAF is real and FNAF didn't exist are both at the bottom of this iceberg.
Two things can be true.
Yeah, no, totally. And honestly, like, here's the thing. The bottom of this iceberg is actually pretty interesting, right? Lore's wrong is our constant cry of like, hey, there are mistakes in this lore. Like the FNAF 3 Phantom animatronics being burned when there were no fires prior to that moment in the series. Just saying. Scott never actually retired. That's a current one where it's like he stepped back from a public persona, but he's actually still manning everything behind the scenes, just not in a public capacity for the safety of the brand. FNAF didn't exist is, I don't know that one. I'm sure that someone is about game theory. I mean, this is always true. This isn't about, this is surface. I don't know why it's at the very bottom because it's surface. FNAF is real. There's a lot of stuff around that as far as FNAF, like there's been a lot of like photoshopped images over the last year of like, here's this actual animatronic, or like here's an old creepy photo that feels very reminiscent of Five Nights at Freddy's. There was a bunch of news stories circulating on Twitter of people being like, was it real all along? Where they were making up or kind of using other animatronic pizzeria restaurants or like old images and kind of like surfacing them as like FNAF as a real, like what if FNAF was real? That could also be a tie-in to our very first FNAF theory where I compared it to the real life like murders at Chuck E. Cheese that had happened. So I think either of those could work. Dream Theory was correct. I think it is. But also it isn't. Like, there's two ways of looking at the first 4 games in the series. I think in some capacity, Dream Theory is correct and works. But when Scott realized that the fan base really wanted there to actually be a real story and not just a symbolic story, it worked on multiple levels. And so he leaned more into the, like, let's continue it as a real life story, even though the, like, dream story works and I think fits the evidence in a very strong way.
Not Dream, like the Minecraft guy.
No, not Dream,
okay.
like actual dreams, like physical dreams.
Got
yes.
it. Okay.
Yeah, basically one of our theories around FNAF 4 era was that basically everything in the game was happening through the dream, like the nightmares of a kid, right? And there's a lot of clues that point to you waking up in the morning, you as a child having these nightmares, certain elements of it, not functioning from a realistic standpoint, but like Scott was dropping clues about like things are misconstrued in the mind of a child and this and that. So there was a lot kind of leaning in that direction. I think back then it worked and made more sense, but then Sister Location kind of pivoted and said like, okay, but let's make it into a real series at this point, or like a series of very real life events. What else is down here? Into Madness. Momo found me in FNAF. Okay, great. Wow, there's a lot of dark stuff here that I don't want to address. I don't even know. For Night at Joey, I'm assuming these are all Five Nights Not Alone. These are all fan games, I'm assuming. Scott was going to make NFTs, that's true. And then he posted about, or it leaked out that FNAF NFTs were going to be a thing. And then the Reddit immediately just like dogpiled on that idea and saying like, this is awful. Don't do that. And it immediately got him to kind of dial that back and say like, hey, we're not moving forward with that. So good job listening to the fan base there. I think something similar is going on with Poppy Playtime right now, where Poppy Playtime's going through a bit of heat because they have NFTs coming out as well. It's interesting how different communities reacted the concept of NFTs differently.
Yeah.
Like this community, FNAF, the indie game, people who follow indie games and those circles, NFTs, no, absolutely not. Like, don't even think about it. The ecological impact, the negative impact potentially to artists and things like that, very negatively received. But you look at other pockets of the internet, and even other pockets of YouTube, right? Like, no surprise, but like Logan Paul, big fan of NFTs, Mr. Beast, big fan of NFTs, and like those guys, you know, if they were to do things or when they have done things related to that sort of stuff, no pushback whatsoever. So it's, you know, it's interesting to see how different communities react to stuff differently. That's been an interesting trend that I've watched over this past year. That's been really, just like really identifies how it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, that there are, like, everyone, I think, looks at, like, online video and, like, the millennials, Gen Z, the TikTok, like, whatever, and lumps them together. But I think stuff like that is very indicative of, because we've had business meetings where people are like, do you want to launch an NFT? Or like, hey, we'd love to partner with you. One thing we'd love to do with you is do an NFT. And immediately we're like, no. Like, and they're like, what? They're all, you know, they're all the rage. They're very trendy this year. And we're like, no, let me take you through some of the feedback that other people who have done this in the past, like notes from our community, this and that, like very, very interesting. Anyway, so after Security Breach comes out, here's our, this is a year's worth of programming.
Yeah.
This is literally the entirety of next year if we were to do this.
Y'all make my job easy. I like this. This is good.
If you wanted text, here's text. This is the equivalent of me just sitting here and reading to you an audiobook.
Yeah.
Like, I welcome to the audiobook version of Matt Pat reading you the entire Fazbear Frights verse.
Sounds lovely.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit sad that no one from, like, Team FNAF has ever reached out to me to read. Like, I'll read a book for them. I'll be a voiceover artist for them, you know.
Yeah.
In the beginning, there was Bonnie, and it was good. I don't know.
You got to take things into your own hands.
I do, right? That's it. I'm just going to do my own, because copyright laws and IP ownership be darned. I'm going to steal that person's book and voice record it and monetize it. That's a great idea.
Hey, Matt, what's an NFT?
Do you not know?
You
refuse to know?
I refuse to know.
Okay. That's fair. It's a long story. It's basically like a one-off. What's a good way to summarize it?
It's like a Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. It's basically like a one-off chunk of code that uniquely belongs to you.
Yeah.
That represents like the definitive version of an online image.
Okay.
Right. So online, right? I can just copy and paste an image millions of times, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? I could type it up in Google search and I can find it, whatever. But what this does is it is a signature piece of code of that image that is like the definitive version of it that only belongs to you. So you have the official like rights or like you have the official copy, just like how artists have like one of one, you know, like this is my one of one of Pablo Picasso, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you have prints of that, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the definitive version, but the problem with it is the amount of code it takes to actually have that be like the definitive thing. Like it all of a sudden expands the amount of code and thus processing power that you need in order to maintain that sort of stuff. And if you're doing that for hundreds, thousands of images, it becomes an issue. There's also a lot of problems. You know, how do you guarantee that you're the one? How do you protect that right? How do you protect the artists that did that sort of thing? It's also, talking to a lot of the people who are doing these businesses, there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. There's no guarantee. They're like selling, it's almost like they're selling, a lot of these people are selling you snake oil and stuff. The quality of the images is pretty bad. Like, I think the NFTs hit a real low. I mean, in concept, it's interesting at least. I don't think that, and anything has value, right? Like, and so this is, hey, what if we give you an internet thing that has value?
Yeah.
Like a Bitcoin. Like, I mean, it is very similar to a Bitcoin, which has been specifically mined for that purpose, right? And it is tied to crypto and Ethereum and stuff. But anyway, but the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was promoting their NFT. Hey, do you want an NFT of this really crappily? Let's see if I can find it actually. Because they were so bad. Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade NFT. NFT's worth it. Yep. Can I find them? We're auctioning off these 10 NFTs. The Parade NFTs. Let's explore the market, shall we? Okay, I guess it's right here. Macy's Collectibles. They got people following it. They've sold 2,500 of. Are you kidding me? Look at this. There you go. I mean, these are actually not as bad. They had animated GIF versions of them. Is it going to load? It's not going to be able. $28,000, Matt. 28,000. Look. Oh, there. Look. For a. What is this? What apocalyptic future do we exist in where this crappily put together, like this is worse than like the generic version of Pixar movies that are like done overseas, like for $28,000.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Look at that. What the heck? It's a rarity, tier 5. It is a tier 5 rarity. Here it is. This is...
Is Macy's getting the money? Don't they have...
74! They've got to be making this. But they don't. And that's the thing. Like, I could see why people... On one hand, I'm like, if I'm Macy's, I'm lying about these to get people to think that there's value here. I don't know what legality exists around this, you know. It is tier 5 rarity, so I understand, because this is going to be valuable at some point. $74,000, Matt.
It's been 22 minutes, and we haven't started the iceberg.
You asked me about NFTs.
I did.
It
was my fault.
It is. It's your fault. Okay,
Sorry, audience.
Okay, let's talk through one tier of this, because let's be honest, that's what we're getting through. I think I forgot to mention last time. This is the Mike skull. It was in the files for FNAF 2. It's just one of those unused assets or like things that are just buried in the code as far as I know. I don't think it's ever showed up anywhere, but when people data mined the whole thing, they found this weird skull that had the name Mike. It's strange decisions. I think what's interesting about it though, and outside of it just being an unused asset, the fact that it's obviously a skull, but it has the crying child eyes, or it has the tears that the crying child, is associated with, that the puppet's associated with, which seems to tie Mike into it in some capacity, but also like it's unused, so it's not canon. It's not it's not an evidence piece. But I think it's worth calling out as maybe that was an idea at some point that it was going to connect in with crying children or whatever, things like that. Anyway, okay, let's go through these. Welcome to the part where it starts to get real slow for me as I try to figure these out. Anim Dude, easy. That's the name of Scott's avatar. Done. He appears in FNAF World as one of the final bosses. Spoiler alert, it's actually a delightfully meta moment. I love it. But yeah, Anim Dude is the official name of Scott's avatar. Easy. Mini Rena's spell out baby. What is this? Okay. Oh yeah, I do remember this one. Okay, Mini Rena Spell Out Baby is, I believe, a reference to Sister Location. So in Sister Location, in the Extras menu, so after you beat the game, you unlock the Extras menu, and, you can look through all the different animatronics and see, like, their cool poses and this and that. And one of them is of Ballora, because she's important in there, and she has her little mini Renas, the little dancing dolls underneath her. And I believe this is one of those ones where I'm like, really? Like, I appreciate what you're going for, but really? Community, so you got to parse through it. They believed that the mini Renas here, oh, there it is, Mini Rena Spell, baby, yeah. they believed that the mini Renas, yeah, there it is. Yep, there it is. At her feet spelled out the word baby. Tell me if you see it. What do you think? Does it spell the word baby?
What? Like, huh?
Come on, Matt. It's clearly baby.
Like with their legs?
With their whole bodies. B.
Oh.
There's a B.
Uh-huh.
Here's another B.
Okay, that, yes.
Here's a Y.
I see it all except for the A.
And see, I'm always a fan of these kind of like off the wall ideas. Like I throw nothing out, and so like I see this and I'm like, oh, I wonder if it's true. But I agree with you. I think the B's, I could see it. The B's I see.
The Y.
The Y I would see, but she's doing the pirouette thing. So it's there's enough here that makes me skeptical of it, right? So like the Y I kind of see, but then if that is what you are intentionally doing, you would have her be up in releve without doing a pirouette. Like that's, or without kind of doing the not attitude. Shoot, it's been a long time since I've taken ballet and I've forgotten all my terminology. But her, passe, duh. Her leg wouldn't be up here. If you wanted to actually spell out baby, you would do that and then not that. But the A, I agree 100%. The fact that the A is literally just the same pose as all the other ones, just more squatted, it doesn't read to me.
Yeah, there's no world where that is the letter A.
Right, exactly. So that's always been kind of my problem with that one. Do they write it out here or no? I thought I saw very briefly. There it is. There it is. Right? Like even when they're drawing it, it's like that isn't an A. That what letter is that? Yes. Welcome to the new alphabet.
They're also completely ignoring her leg on the end.
Right? And if you look at this bright red line that I drew over it, it actually spells purple guy is phone guy. Just their bodies spell it out, I'm telling you. Yeah, so that one, not the greatest, but that is what that one's a reference to. That's really fun. Oh, sorry, FNAF 3 map is Anim Dude. I'm like, what is FNAF 3 map is? FNAF 3 map is Anim Dude, yeah. So this was an idea that the shape of the FNAF 3, here, let's actually, FNAF 3 map is Anim Dude. His avatar is upside down. This is another one where, yeah, this is another one of those where you're like, oh, okay, it's fun, I guess. I don't think it's intentional at all. I think, it's just fun. This was one where they thought that the FNAF 3 map, which has this kind of back and forth long hallway thing, was the equivalent of Anim Dude if you flipped it upside down, which, clearly, you see it, Matt? You see that one a little bit clearer?
I do see it, but it's also the kind of thing where it's like, sometimes you squint at letters and they look like other letters.
Do you need me to draw it in? Because here, let me draw in the red lines for you, Matt. I'll draw in the red. Oh, I have to sign it. Never mind. Let me draw in the red. If you follow these red lines, you'll clearly see what's going on.
This one does genuinely have the shape of anime.
No, it does, and I mean it's a blocky animated like pixelated thing. So yeah. What else do we have here? Shadow BB, I believe. Let's see, in FNAF 2, and this is what you see over here, right? Shadow BB. So Balloon Boy in FNAF 2 was rumored to show up in a shadow form every once in a while. I do not believe that was real. I think that was a fan edit or just like because again, it's very easy to manipulate stuff in this series and make it seem like it's real because, that's just the nature of these games. When stuff randomly happens in these games and it's like one playthrough in 100 or one playthrough in 1,000, could it exist? Yeah, absolutely. But it's hard to parse the reality from the fiction with this series in a lot of cases. For instance, and this actually goes back to the guidebook that I was talking about before. What is it? FNAF VR, It's Me. So this is from Eerie Echo. So this is one that I was very skeptical of and had to do a lot of digging to find the truth on. before I put it into an episode, and I have talked about this in an episode, but this is from FNAF VR. Every once in a while, you will get a very randomized chance to have all the pictures in the barn end up as the evil clown, evil baby representation, right? And you have these darts that you can throw at the various paintings, at the various posters, right? So if you manage to throw the darts at all of the posters and hit all 3, this is what happens. It turns into It's Me. And the whole thing glows black light, and is this a Golden Freddy reference? What is this? Because Golden Freddy is not in this game. And so it's like, And this is also interesting because it's after FNAF 6, so like, is Golden Freddy still around? Is the one you should not have killed still in existence? Anyway, I saw this as just one person's one video just buried online. It didn't get a whole lot of views. And I'm like, this has got to be a fan edit. I don't think that this is a real thing. I think what happened was they were looking for clout, they were looking for views, and so they manipulated the game code, added filters in, whatever, to make this seem like a real thing when it's not. I did some digging and I found out that it was true, and that was actually verified by this latest Ultimate Guidebook, right? Where they're like, hey, there's this rare Easter egg in FNAF VR where if this sometimes happens and you do this incredibly like weird sequence of events, you get this Easter egg. So, but going back to the Shadow Balloon Boy, it's one of those things where it's like, it's hard to tell if that's real or not. I believe this one was fan-made, and it was kind of just something that circulated and that people just kind of had manipulated to get in there. Autobiography, a beta Nightmare Fredbear and Help Wanted trailer. I'm assuming that this is just one of those little details that I'm not aware of, but it seems like it's pretty self-explanatory, which is that a beta version of Nightmare Fredbear appeared in the Help Wanted trailer. Here, let me see if I can... Nightmare Fredbear in FNAF VR trailer. Great. Nightmare Fredbear, done parent Christopher, brand new FNAF Help Wanted beta Nightmare Fredbear skin. Sure. So this is one of those times where it's like, I don't think we necessarily need it. Yeah. Here, Nightmare Fred. If we do Nightmare Fredbear, let's go to him. I'm assuming this is probably in like his trivia or something. Where's VR? 5 Nights at Freddy's VR. Nope. No, not in the trivia. All right, but I'm assuming that that's what this is, right? It's just like an unfinished or like not finalized model of him showed up in the Help Wanted trailer. That makes sense to me. Autobiography of Yogi. This is actually a personal favorite of mine. This is in FNAF 1. You have Phone Guy, right? Iconic character from the franchise, really like set the tone for everything that was to come. He dies by the end of it, or at least gets attacked and maybe dies. This is another thing that's coming out of the Ultimate Guidebook. The Ultimate Guidebook that I'm reading has some weird little details around all the Phone Guy appearances in both FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, where they're like, it seems like he may have died. Maybe. Like, they leave it open as a question, which is interesting. So I'm compiling all these details and hopefully coming together with something. But I believe it's the night 4. It's not the night that he dies. It's the night before. Yeah, it's the night before where you pick up the phone and instead of hearing like Phone Guy, you hear this like garbled, creepy noise. Right? Actually, I bet I can find it. Phone Guy, night 4. Night 4 call. Is this?
Oh, hey.
Oh, it's night 5 then. FNAF night 5 call. Because if he dies on 4, then night 5 is the one that it is. I forgot the order. Yes, ringing, thank you. Yes, pick it up. Here we go. Picks it up. This. Okay, so the autobiography of a yogi thing is people hear this audio file, right? And they're like, "Oh, what is it? It sounds like it's saying something. It seems like it should be saying something. What is it?" Right? And so early theorists, and this is still early days, right? Like, we weren't looking into source code and doing file, brightening things. Like, the level of knowledge that theorists have at this point is so much greater than it used to be. But we heard this and we're like, what can we do? Let's reverse it. Let's pitch shift it. Let's speed it up. Let's slow it down. And honestly, everyone had a hard time kind of relating it to anything. The closest thing that we could get to, or like that the community ultimately landed on, was it being a quote from this book called Autobiography of a Yogi. And it's about it's literally like, it's lamentable that mass agricultural development is speeded by fuller use of your marvelous mechanisms. Would not be easily possible to employ some of them in quick laboratory experiments to indicate the influence of various types of fertilizer on play. Like, it's this very odd, nonsensical passage. I don't know. I don't think it was ever, I think it was meant to be just like deep, spooky, scary voice, right? I don't know if it was intentionally this or what. This is still, again, it was still early days. I don't know if Scott was intentionally like seeding clues out there. I don't think he was. It was just like this random weird passage that was mixed into this audio garble that kind of filled the spot. But that's Autobiography of a Yogi, which is fun. Lulbit mask. Every once in a while in sister location, the entered mask will flip into Lulbit mask. Lulbit is basically the troll version of Funtime Foxy, with kind of black eyes and white pinpoints, a little bit different coloring. And so Lulbit appears in the custom night of sister location, but is not a canon character, and that is also something that was confirmed by the Ultimate guidebook that I just read sister location last night too. And I'm like, and they expressly call out that, like, hey, Lulbit is not a canon character. In so many words, that's what they say. So, but yeah, Lulbit's mask sometimes appears randomly in sister location. FNAF 1 Foxy and FNAF 2. I think this is a reference, unless I'm mistaken, but to me, this is a lore reference to the fact that the jump scare that happens in FNAF 2, where Foxy leaps out and attacks the screen, that is FNAF 1's Foxy. If you look at the toes and, his weathering and this and that, there's a lot of like, hey, are the FNAF 1 animatronics in FNAF 2? But that one is very definitively him, I think. Like, I think that's what that's referring to, unless there's an actual, like, full-fleshed model of him, or like, it was more obvious that he was in FNAF 2 at some point during the development process. But to me, there's not a whole lot of debate that, like, hey, the FNAF 1's Foxy is in FNAF 2 is just a thing. So here, just to make sure I'm not... Foxy... And the problem is you're, like, digging into really, like, obscure search terms that there are technically two Foxies, Withered Foxy and the Yay. Okay, okay. Bonnie and P, yeah, okay. I think that's about the extent of it. Bonnie running. Yeah, so Bonnie does not run usually. That's a mechanic that's for Foxy because he's the spry one. He charges at the door, right? But in the FNAF 1 trailer, let me pull that up. FNAF 1 trailer. So in the very, very first thing kind of coming out of this game, right, you have... I love that it's an IGN's trailer. You have a brief clip of Bonnie running down the hall, and it's very strange because Bonnie is not the running character, but they mix it in, right? So here we go. You have the Night Watch. Look at this old trailer. It's crazy. Aw, we were so innocent back then. Okay, it's coming up. Here it is. There it is. There he is. Look at that sprinty boy. And then he takes off his face, which is something that doesn't end up getting used in that game, but is an idea that pays off in FNAF 2. Look at that sprinty boy. Look at those gams. Bonnie's not skipping leg day. Not skipping leg day. There you go. So anyway, so that is Bonnie running. Camera flipping. Sure. Nightmare JJ. Nightmare JJ is that just... Okay, so JJ, as we talked about in the previous one of these, is the recolored version of Balloon Boy. We know this. Apparently it was a hoax. I saw the word hoax come up with this one. Nightmare JJ is fake. Yeah, okay. So, give him game files for the Halloween edition of FNAF 4. You can check out this, it's transparent version. Fortunately, I can now confirm that Nightmare JJ is not real. The user who posted has been banned. Okay. If you have any requests, yeah. So, I was wondering if that was the case. So, it makes sense, right? Nightmare JJ. If there's a Nightmare Balloon Boy, but JJ is a thing, then, is there a Nightmare JJ around? The Nightmare equivalent of this Balloon Boy alternative. Nope, not true. Is a hoax from FNAF 4 meant to be an Easter egg and rare replacement of Nightmare Balloon Boy, made in 2015. No, okay. Yep. Looks exactly like the counterpart. Yeah, so it was a hoax. Again, I think a lot of these deeper ones are getting into the realm of like, this was a hoax, this was fake, this was things that fans created, for whatever reason, right? And it becomes mixed into the lore. But welcome to 2021, where parsing truth from reality as it comes to like news and things that are disseminated online is very difficult. So there you go. Camera flipping, I have no idea what that's trying to reference. Just like, is it something specific? I mean, it has to be specific, right? Because camera flipping, like upside down, changing? I don't know what that's a reference to. Because you flip your camera up and down, to check on the security cameras in the games. That's like gameplay mechanic. Like that's just what you do. Is there anything? Camera flipping. Yeah, you did. Oh, okay. Camera flipping refers to a glitch in FNAF 1 where you can continuously flip the camera during the jump scares for Bonnie and Chica. Well, there you go. Maybe. Okay, well, this is never going to load, so that's cool. But there you go. Thank you, comment on Reddit. Who knows? Camera flipping refers to a glitch in FNAF 1 where you can continuously flip the camera during the jump scares for Bonnie and Chica. I did not know that, so that's kind of fun. Nightmare JJ, Bonbon in the vents. Okay. Bonbon is the puppet in vent. Bonbon is the puppet from... Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, this was a teaser. I guess that's what it's... would have been if... Yeah, because okay. So if I remember this right, when Scott was getting ready to launch the Ultimate Custom Night for Sister Location, the Custom Night for Sister Location, where you had the ability to toggle everyone, I believe, yeah, this image came out. Right? I think this image came out. This was a teaser image, and it showed Bonbon crawling through the vent. But that ended up not being the case. In the final mechanic, you actually don't see him do really anything. You hear Funtime Freddy's voice be like, Bonbon, give him a surprise! And then, if he says surprise, he appears or jump scares you through the other door. So it's this constant like shutting either the correct... Go on the right side, and you shut that door, shut the opposite door. So him crawling through the vent, I think, is a reference to a teaser that ultimately didn't come to fruition. I think that's what it is. Or a mechanic that didn't end up happening. And then Puppet in Office is what? FNAF Puppet in Office. Puppet in Office. Okay, in the game's files, there's actually a picture of the puppet for being in the office. It's clearly unused. You can even see the strings and the wooden parts. Okay, should it be posted? Okay, where is it? This? Puppet in Office? This is fan art, though. Puppet in Office sightings. Right, a lot of this is stuff that is just kind of like produced and then isn't real. But again, because you can fake things really well in this series, it's hard to tell. So that makes sense to me. And I think that's pretty much everyone in that one. There you go. Look at that. Crushed it, Matt. We are so fast through there.
Nice.
Are you impressed?
Yeah. Very much so.
Thank you.
I like that you knew things.
Thank you.
And that you were able to recall them.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Here's a couple other fast ones that we can throw out, because I'm assuming we got to start wrapping it up.
That's true.
I figured. Canceled due to leaks. That is a reference to FNAF 4 teaser. Nope, sister location teaser. Sorry, sister location canceled due to leaks. This is one of my favorite ones of the little Easter eggs. So on Scott's site, you had this canceled due to leaks. Everyone was speculating about the new game, and this was very heavy in the days where Scott would just update his website with a bunch of images, get people excited about it, very simple stuff, but kept the conversation about the games going as people were trying to figure out what's going on, right? And so all of a sudden you see canceled due to leaks, and people are like, oh no, what happened? The new game is canceled. That's terrible. And especially with people saw leaks and they're like, oh no, is information about the new game leaking? So he's just thrown in the towel. But wait, friends, when you actually brighten up the image, you get this not incredibly long, but you get this basically newspaper article. Yeah, you get this newspaper article in which they talk about Circus Baby's Pizza World. So this is, I believe, the first time that we actually hear that name tossed out there. Oh my gosh, there are so many ads! The internet is a miserable place to be in without an ad blocker. So you have this newspaper. It's talking about Circus Baby's pizzeria, her pizza world, and the fact that it had to close due to a gas leak, right? This is a gas leak. But what we come to learn is that there was actually other stuff going on. It was more likely the opening of it was canceled due to Elizabeth Afton getting killed by Baby during that process, during the opening process. So it's one of those really cool teaser images that showed up and had a lot of, this is actually, it never appears in a game, right? This is a literal image that showed up on a website at some point, but has huge lore implications. And again, that's one of the tricks about this franchise. And one of the reasons why people have been asking me, can you do a recap of the whole series, is you miss an image and, you've missed actually a pretty significant lore thing between Sister Location and FNAF 6, right? You have Baby going from a clown animatronic and robot spaghetti to weird roller skating lobster claw creature. And you dial into FNAF 6 and you're like, why does Baby look so substantially different from what she was in FNAF 5? And, if you pay attention and you learn about all this stuff that was happening between the games via the teaser images and via the ancillary content, you can put those pieces together. But without it, you're just lost. Yes, Matt.
Question.
Yes, Matt.
You said robot spaghetti?
Yes.
Huh?
Mom's robot spaghetti. Yeah. Mom's spaghetti.
Yeah.
Here. So Matt has a question about robot spaghetti. So basically, in Sister Location, in Sister Location, the endoskeletons, the inner workings of the animatronics, was redesigned or recontextualized to, I call it robot spaghetti, basically be a bunch of tangled up wires, right? And so this is Ennard, who is an amalgamation of a bunch of different animatronics all mixed together.
Yeah.
But it's this little tangle of mass of wires and eyeballs and this and that.
Okay.
Baby had this, basically all of them amounted to this kind of robot spaghetti thing.
Got it.
And at the end of Sister Location Custom Night Ending, so at the end of it, right, if you do all the challenges in the game, you unlock this cutscene where you puke up the robot spaghetti.
Ah.
Because it had been infused into your body.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because you're about to have a rap battle and you're really nervous.
Right, and you puke up your robot spaghetti.
Your knees are weak, arms are heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thanks. Thank you for that. Thank you for the drop. So that's that one. What else do we have real quick here? There was a copyright on Bonnie's guitar. We could talk about that next time. And so the design of the guitar had to change a little bit. What else? What's another? Molten Freddy blueprint. I don't know if I'm getting the right thing here, but to me, Molten Freddy blueprint is a reference to the fact that, again, in FNAF 6, there's secret blueprints that you can unlock in that game by going through an incredibly obscure series of of steps where you buy the egg archive, which when you buy the egg archive in the pizzeria simulator, it changes the color of the button on your monitor to blue. You press the blue button for a certain amount of time, and you unlock this series of blueprints and a secret audio file talking, kind of explaining the weird parts of the lore to you. And one of the blueprints that you unlock is this Molten Freddy blueprint, which kind of confirms that Freddy in that game is just a tangled up bunch of other kids' spirits. But that they had ejected Baby. So Ennard at one point, so that the robot spaghetti was a bunch of animatronics plus Baby mixed in. Mm-hmm. At the end of Sister Location, Robot Spaghetti gets puked up.
Yep.
And in between games, Baby, her Robot Spaghetti, gets basically voted out of the tribe. All the other ones get together and they're like, hey, you're not allowed here anymore.
Okay.
And so she becomes a separate entity again.
Okay.
And Molten Freddy is kind of what comes out of that. So Molten Freddy is a bunch of the dead kids' spirits entangled in wires, and then Baby is separate from that. But at one point, Ennard, they were all like one thing. They were all one entity.
Yeah. And then she got puked, and then...
Then she got puked, and then voted out of the tribe. Yes. And then in FNAF... And then that leads you to FNAF 6, where they're two separate entities again. But if you're just playing the games, there are steps in that process that don't make sense. Like, there's a lot of dots that don't get connected.
You don't say.
Yeah. Go figure, right? Even if you do follow everything, there's a lot of dots that don't get connected. So that's where I come in. Trying to connect as many dots as I can, but then also I'm still trying to figure out the dots that don't make sense. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
I'm catching on.
You are. No, you're getting the hang of this.
Well, I would like to say that the characters' names were originally placeholders does not belong in that tier because everybody knows that.
Yeah, do they?
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
I know.
So
there you go. Look at you, man.
I think it needs to be higher up.
There it is. Mm-hmm. Last thing to throw out here, I guess. And again, I don't know if this is referencing anything specific, but this is another quick one that I'm surprised it's this deep. Is Bear of Revenge. Bear of Revenge is a reference to FNAF Ultimate Custom Night. So in Ultimate Custom Night, as you beat the game on harder and harder modes, you get more and more points, right? And each time you cross a certain point threshold, you unlock a short cutscene. And there is Chica's high school adventures, basically, where she is a schoolgirl who's hot for the new boy in town or whatever, and then talks about how she's gonna drag him back to her house and kill them.
Chica the animatronic?
Yes, Toy Chica.
She went to school?
I wish you had been here for that era of FNAF. Toy Chica High School. Because I think you would...
Is it like a Doki Doki kind of thing?
It's like a Yandere simulator kind of thing. Yeah, it's so...
That looks like fun.
It's fantastic. It's definitely one of my favorite things in the franchise, and unlocking it, she's just it's all her in high school doing voiceover.
This game is so nuts.
So if this wasn't strange enough, right? So you had Toy Chica's high school, whatever. And look, these are all the boys that she's hot for. She's hot for Pig Patch and Toy Bonnie and the wolf from Twisted Ones and Freddy and Puppet and Toy Fox or Funtime Foxy.
Okay.
It's brilliant. It's great. I love it. It's one of the smartest things the series has ever done. I think it's hilarious. The other half of that, though, is Bear of Revenge. FNAF, yeah. So the other half of it is a full-on Japanese anime style thing, where you have Bear of Revenge, where you have Clan Lord Foxy against wandering lone samurai Freddy, talking about their battle that's coming up, right? And it's all done in Japanese, but there's subtitles,
right.
and if you translate the Japanese, it actually is not exactly what they're saying, which is a clue in and of itself, which is a whole other series of things. But yeah, it's this whole scripted anime sequence that as you unlock more and more points, you get different facets of the story or different chapters of the story. And then he eats noodles at the end. And that's Bear of Revenge.
That is insane.
Is where they're literally in a Japanese anime. No, it's not an anime, it's more like an old samurai movie, I get. Anime is the modern reference, but really it is more of an old samurai style movie. And And yeah, they go at it. So that is Bear of Revenge. I don't know, again, why it would be this deep in the Iceberg, because it's one of those things where that is just like a thing that's unlocked in normal gameplay. I guess if you don't play the games, you wouldn't know that. And they're hard to get, I guess, because you have to get a pretty high number of points to get Bear of Revenge in Toy Chica's High School Adventures, or whatever it was called. Molten Freddy Blueprint is also kind of buried in there. So on one hand, I see why they're down here, but it is a lot of stuff that is just kind of like wrapped up into, this is just when you play the games, and if you unlock everything in the games, this is stuff. Whereas some of this other thing, some of the other like fan-created things feels more obscure to me. Like Autobiography of a Yogi, I feel like is much more obscure than like Bear of Revenge, unless of course I'm missing something. So anyway, there you go, friends. I guess we got another one of these done. There are so, every time I look at the amount that is left, I just get depressed. Pull it up, man. Look at this. Look, we're halfway through this one, but there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The game comes out tomorrow, Matt. This is literally like an 8-hour live stream of just talking about this.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of stuff.
Why is Missing Kid in Stage 01 down here? I don't know. Anyway, Hanging Mangle is another one of those where it's like, it's obscure, but it was a teaser image. It's not that obscure. Open Box is okay. All right. I'm done talking.
What's the pizzeria?
I actually don't know. I'm assuming that is a misspelling that happened either in the game files or in like an early edition of the game where Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Here, we'll look it up just so we can say we did it. Nope, I want Pizzeria. Pizzeria Simulator? Nope. Pizzeria, everyone's correcting it. No, I want actual Pizzeria.
Wait, what?
Where do you
I
see
think
it?
it's a Wattpad thing.
Is it Wattpad Pizzeria Stories? A FNAF Fazbear Frights fan story?
Yeah, because keep going up. Yeah, the wiki. The Pizzeria roleplay.
Where you see the Pizzeria roleplay?
Right, the one that you're clicking on.
This one?
Nope.
This one?
Yep, the one that says the Pizzeria.
Fifth Animal Trial. Oh, the Pizzeria roleplay. There it is. Golden Freddy, the Pizzeria. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing, too. A lot of these things can mean multiple things. So, yeah, maybe that's it. The Pizzeria roleplay. There it is. Great. I mean, I think it's funny. Pizzeria Simulator. I mean, it's a very hard word. It's a very easy word to misspell. So, I'm not surprised. Pizzeria Simulator. Yeah, so there you go, friends. Other things that exist in the world of FNAF. The game comes out tomorrow. We're going to be live streaming it. Keep an eye out on both Game Theory and GTLive, because I'm deciding today which one we're live streaming it on. I don't know. What time is it being live streamed? Matt and I are figuring that out behind the scenes, because there's a lot of doctor's appointments and Ollie daycare stuff that we got to deal with. So we're figuring it all out. But sometime tomorrow, at some point on some channel, we will be playing parts of Security Breach, provided we've gotten it in time. So there's a lot of what ifs. Honestly, there's a lot that's still up in the air, but it's fully my intention to play at least a couple hours of this game tomorrow live with you guys, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we'd have a blast. I'm hopeful that Stephanie can also be here, so we can all just experience the next generation of FNAF. And Matt, maybe you can teach Stephanie some of these things.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Now I'm the expert.
Yeah.
Now I'm somewhat knowledgeable.
You're not subjected to
things.
Literally this morning, after we dropped off Ollie at his preschool, I was back and I'm like, Steph, can I ask you a question? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, Steph, why are the FNAF 3 Phantom animatronics burned? And she's like, what? That is exactly how the conversation started. And the thing is, so much of our life is talking about like serious business talk and like all these decisions and people and employees and stuff, that she's like, you know what? It's nice to talk about FNAF. And I'm like, I know! It's the like least consequential, delightful puzzle that we can solve, and it's nice, and it really puts into, like, life and adulting puts into context stuff like this. Where it's like, I'm stressed out about putting together this timeline, but does it ultimately matter? I think it does, because it matters a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, you know, if FNAF 3 took place in 2023 or 2032 or whatever. It doesn't matter. For my brand, it does, but I also like recognize that life is full of serious things. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We're working on it. Hopefully I see you tomorrow for FNAF Security Breach. We'll see how that goes. And in the meantime, thanks for sticking through these long diatribes about FNAF. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. It wasn't a live stream, but it was a video for you. Bye. Terrible, terrible exit.